Hi, my name is Nicole Wolf. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about a classroom management plan that I would like to implement in a classroom of my own someday, particularly um, with a focus on behavior management. First, I'm going to share some beliefs with you that I have when it comes to having effective classroom management. First of all, having a classroom management plan based off the idea of assertive discipline, and the three basic ideas that kind of go along with that is having clear rules that the students are expected to follow at all times, positive recognition to the students that make good choices and are following the rules, and then having consequences in place for students that choose to not follow the rules. Secondly, I really believe that it is important to teach students to have responsibility for their learning, their choices, and their behavior. I think that it's a really very good trait for students to have, to know that the choices are their own choices. They're the ones that they made, and they need to learn that they have to take responsibility for those choices. I also believe in the use of positive reinforcement and a token economy to encourage good behavior. Positive reinforcement is just if I see a student exhibiting a trait that I like or I agree with, or that they're following the rules and working well, that they'll receive some form of reward for doing so. And then lastly, this last term is actually from our book. With itness is the teacher's ability to know what is going on in his or her classroom at all times. And I think this should really be a skill that all teachers have. Being able to know what's going on in your classroom as a whole rather than just in small groups is really important, especially if the students are working independently or in groups of 2 or 3. Well, I, as the teacher, am working with a small group. I think that it's important that I'm able to focus on that small group, but that I'm also able to focus on what the rest of my students are doing. So first I'm going to talk about how I plan on developing my classroom rules. I plan on having the classroom rules already made and in place and displayed somewhere in the room when the students come on the first day of school. I don't believe in letting the students help make the rules. I think that they should walk in and they should see that the rules are up and they're there for them to know. I also think that rules should be clear and concise and not be written in a way that confuse the kids. And then also not having any more than 5 to 8 rules, because I think after that it becomes really hard for the students to keep all the rules straight and to remember. And then I also think that rules should be grade level appropriate. Really like this picture right here, especially for younger students. They're very 4 basic rules, but they're all very important things that the students should be doing on a daily basis. So next I'm going to go into how I plan on handling misbehavior in my classroom. I plan on monitoring behavior on a clip chart or some sort of pocket chart. I think this is a really good visual way for the students to be able to track how they're doing throughout the day. I plan also on having a discipline plan in place so that a consequence can be given right away. So having consequences for a certain behavior or choice that they make. And I really believe in that if a consequence is given, I need to follow through right away and give it right away. Using a calm and clear voice when you give the consequence as well. If I get upset, it's only going to upset the student more, and then I'm really not going to get anywhere. So staying calm is really important. So I broke down how I plan on handling behavior really into 3 different levels of possible behavior of the student. First off is just like the disruptive behavior, if they're working in small groups and they're getting chatty or they're being loud. Just kind of some simple things that I got from the book. The first is that look, making eye contact with a student that is probably not making the best choice at the time, is really going to be a nonverbal way of telling them to quiet down and get back to work. If I'm able to, if I'm not working with another student or with a small group, moving closer to the student that is causing the disruptive behavior and is kind of getting out of hand. If I'm able to move closer to them, I think that is a really good way to kind of remind them that, they need to tone it down a little bit. Being able to redirect them quietly. I don't want to be yelling across the room, and I don't think that's appropriate anyway. So be able to walk up to them quietly, redirect them, remind them of what they're supposed to be doing, and then also moving a clip or card on the behavior chart that I will have in my classroom. And then if the behavior is persisting, kind of bump it up a little bit, possibly have them move another clip, talk to the student alone when the rest of the kids aren't in the room. I think that brings down distractions, and it will help the student focus on what I'm trying to talk to them about. Maybe taking a little time out at their desk, if they can't handle what they're supposed to be doing, taking a little time to sit at their desk and kind of think about what they were doing and how to fix that. And then also, depending on the school where I'm at, having the student move to another space outside of the classroom that's quiet for them to focus on their work and not having other students or things in the room to distract them. And then lastly, if the behavior is completely inappropriate and consequences aren't enough to kind of correct the behavior, I think parent contact is really important at this point, a possible visit to the principal, and then if a specific behavior plan for a child needs to be made, I think possible like extra parent-teacher conferences to kind of figure out that plan would be a possibility. So I believe in the use of rewards and incentives, and I plan on using them in my classroom someday. As I said before, I plan on tracking behavior on a clip chart or a pocket chart, and then I will also have a token economy in place. So if good behavior is exhibited throughout the day and they're on the good half of the clip chart or they have a certain color card, they will receive a token at the end of the day, and that's for each student individually. And then I also plan on having one as a whole class, that if the class shows me that they're listening really well or doing something really well, the class as a whole will receive some sort of a token. And once a certain amount of rewards are received, I will have a plan in place to offer opportunities to trade in those tokens that they've received for a prize or some sort of a special privilege or a special day. And then parent communication is obviously very important. And my plan for communicating with parents, first off, for behavior, I plan on giving all my students a daily take-home chart that they keep in some sort of a folder or binder that they take home every day that the parents see. It'll be based on the clip chart, so whatever level they are on the clip chart, their personal behavior chart will be filled in based off of that, and then they'll take it home for their parents to see every day. And I will request that the parents initial it every day so the parents are aware of what kind of a day their child had. If the behavior is serious enough, I plan on directly contacting the parent through a phone call or an email, just so I make sure that the parents are getting the whole story of what happened, and the consequences that their child maybe possibly received because of the behaviors that they were having. Also, if there are behaviors that aren't as serious, but they're repeatedly happening and they're constantly moving their clip down or flipping a card, I would also directly contact the parent at that point about how what we might need to do to fix that behavior. And then also something that isn't really related to behavior but still parent communication is a weekly newsletter to my parents. I really want to be able to build a relationship with my parents that and I want to do that through keeping them in the know of everything that's going on in the school, in that grade level, possibly, and especially in my room. So they're aware of things that are going on, um, if we're having a special day or a special snack or things that we're learning, so they know what their kids might be bringing home for homework that day. I think all those things are really important for parents to know and be a part of. So then I'm going to talk about the first. Now I'm going to talk about the first 6 weeks and how I would utilize the time of my first 6 weeks in school. I think I plan on focusing on rules, routines, and social skills. So rules and routines are obviously really important for the students to know right off the bat. I think having clear and concise expectations right away, as soon as they walk in the room, and also having clear and consistent routines. I will plan on having a schedule posted of the daily things that they're going to do and how I want them to transition from different times throughout the day. And I really think that doing this in that, especially the very first week and the very first few days, I think is going to set me up for a successful year, because those routines are something that they're going to do every day. Those expectations are going to be things that are expected of them every day. And so getting those set right away, I think is extremely important. And then getting the students and parents familiar with expectations that I have for them, I think is really important. And I emphasize the parents as well as the students. I think that the parents knowing what's going on and what I expect is really important. So down the road, they're not questioning something that I might be doing as a consequence, or punishing for bad choices that they might be making. And then also the first 6 weeks, as far as rules go, getting the students throughout the entire room, section by section, to show them what each station is for, what each area is meant for, and then any rules specific to a given area for specific materials that they might need to know. And then one of the articles that we read talks about the use of the 3 R's in that first 6 weeks, so reinforcing, reminding, and refocusing. And especially I really like the reinforce and remind. I think are two really important parts of those first few weeks. And then also I think building social skills is really important. Getting to know the students socially, finding out their likes, their dislikes, and me as the teacher building relationships and trust with them, showing them that I care, but that I'm still going to be firm on things. And then I also plan on doing a daily morning meeting, making sure that the students know the importance of the meeting, having a process for that meeting, letting them do greetings to get to know each other, sharing, having group activities, and so on. Creating an inclusive classroom, I think, is also really important. Having diversity in a classroom, I think, should always be seen as a positive and never as a negative. I think that students should always feel welcome at all times, and I want to make sure that my students are feeling respected. I want to make sure that I'm being educated on the different beliefs that might cross the door of my classroom, and I think that that's extremely important to both the students and the parents. And then letting the students know that they are important for who they are, and never discriminating when it comes to bad behavior based on their race or anything like that. And then I truly believe that students should be treated as individuals that are each special in their own way, and that they each bring something special to my classroom, and whether it's a cultural belief or anything like that. And then lastly, the power of words. I think that the language that I use with my students, it rubs off on the students, whether it's good or bad. Avoiding comparative language, as the article that we read kind of brings up, and avoiding sarcasm. Not all students understand sarcasm, especially younger ones, so it's really important to avoid that. And I really think that words should be encouraging, calming, caring, upbeat, but also firm when needed to, and bringing out that teacher voice is, I think, really something that needs to be done. And the article also discussed how it shapes learners and influences our relationships, and I really think that that is very important.